call to the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Last week I met with Louis and Tess, who run a cafe in Fairfield. Louis and Tess were promised that a Labor government would bring down power prices by $275 a year. But Louis and Tess are facing a 56% rise in power prices over the next 2 years and are forced to take measures like turning off the air conditioning to try and rein in surging costs. Will the Prime Minister apologise to families and businesses like the one Louis and Tess run for not delivering on his $275 commitment to cut electricity prices?
Order. Members on my right will cease interjecting. The Prime Minister will be heard in silence. I give the call to the Prime Minister.
I thank the Leader of the Opposition for his question. We stand by the evidence, which is that renewables are the cheapest form of power. And the best way to get power prices down
on my left.
is to get renewables up. And that's exactly what this budget has done. Nearly $24 billion for clean energy, investing in Marinus Link, renewable energy zones, offshore wind, pumped hydro, community batteries, solar banks. All of it making up for a decade of neglect, a decade of denial, a decade of chaos. We had on those opposites watch 4 gigawatts leave the system and 1 gigawatt come in. That's what occurred from those opposite. Now, common sense tells you that with demand and supply, if you have less supply but demand is going up, then you will have pressure when it comes to prices. But, of course, those opposite were too busy fighting for power amongst themselves to worry about generating power for the country. That's essentially the problem that occurred.
The Leader of the Nationals.
That's essentially the problem that occurred. They had a rotation of ministers. They had every time that we had the potential of an energy policy being adopted, even ones that could have been adopted with bipartisan support, instead of adopting them, they just rolled the leader. That's what occurred. Order. They were too busy worried about their own power squabbles.
Will pause. The Manager of Opposition Business on a point of order.
Well, Mr Speaker, on relevance, I ask that you follow the tradition of Speaker Jenkins and direct the Prime Minister to relate his material to the question at hand, not some kind of historical excursion. He's looking for every reason to avoid answering a clear and direct question.
You may resume your seat. The Leader of the House.
To the point of order, Mr Speaker, this was hardly a tight question. It went for the full 30 seconds available and asked what the impacts were on a cafe in Fairfield of electricity prices. Now, the Prime Minister is going to exactly why there's pressure on those families and those households and their businesses right now.
Order. The Prime Minister is in order. The question was about power prices and the question was about commitments about those prices. I'm listening carefully to the Prime Minister and I give him the call.
Yes, Mr Speaker. Thanks very much, Mr Speaker. Of course, what we know is that there are two big reasons why there are pressure on prices at the moment. One of which is, I've outlined already, is the failure of those opposite to actually build enough supply to generate power in the country because they were too busy worried about power struggles within themselves. But the second, of course, is, and this might be a news release for those opposite, the fact of the Russian invasion of Ukraine has led to global power prices rises that has occurred throughout the entire world. It seems oblivious to those opposite that this has occurred, but it is just a fact.